So I know that you are a fan of this guy that I'm going to bring up because he appeared at Kobo only like once or twice and was in the territory for a short time with a gentleman named George Strickland who trained him. What do you know, or what can you tell us about Dr. Sam Shepard?
Yeah, you know, in the category of some of the most unusual attractions in wrestling, and I mean, you've got sheiks and butchers and sergeants and farmers and convicts, spacemen, cowboys.
Indians.
You've got them all. Lots of unique characters, but I think this is probably the only time, at least that we know of, that a convicted murderer was pushed as an attraction at a professional wrestling show. You've all heard of the movie The Fugitive. And there was also a TV show called The Fugitive, starring David Jansen. The movie starred Harrison Ford. And the movie and TV show were all based on a real-life happening. Dr. Sam Shepard, who was from Cleveland, he was an osteopath, physician, a neurosurgeon, pretty, highfalutin guy there in Cleveland. And he was accused of murdering his pregnant wife back in 1954, but he blamed a bushy-haired intruder. Now, the bushy-haired intruder for TV and movie purposes became the one-armed man, but originally Sam blamed all this on a bushy-haired intruder, and then for the next couple of decades, people are looking for the bushy-haired intruder, and Sam's trying to convince the police that he did in fact exist, and they're trying to find evidence, not so successfully. They held his first trial. He was found guilty. He spent 10 years in prison. At the end of that time, the Supreme Court got involved and overturned the conviction in the first trial. I'm not sure exactly what the basis of their of overturning it was, but then he had a second trial and was exonerated. And people were believing more and more that there was, in fact, somebody else there at the house. In fact, now as you're going on 10, 20 years, DNA is coming into the picture, and they're able to find some DNA of a third person who was actually in the house at that point in time. So anyway, you got the TV show, you got the movie, you have Sam. Sam's out of jail now. He hooks up with George Strickland, who was an old-time wrestler, largely here in southern Ohio. And George Strickland was soon to become Sam Shepard's father-in-law, because there was a young lady named Colleen who was in her 20s, and she hooked up with 45-year-old Dr. Sam Shepard. And Sam was being taught to wrestle probably on the basis that we're going to take this around the world. Your notoriety is just going to sell out arenas around the country. Well, number one, Sam Shepard was the absolute
drizzling,
you know what? Wasn't very good. He had been trained maybe for a couple of months, and he was 45 years old at the time he was starting to try to do all this, and that's a little old to try to break into professional wrestling. So he wasn't very good. The people didn't really turn out to see him. They probably counted on a lot of publicity from the newspapers and the television stations, but he wouldn't do interviews. And I don't know whether that was just him being smart or the lawyer said don't do any interviews. I don't know what legal thing might have still been out there. Maybe he thought he would have said something he shouldn't have said. But anyway, yeah, he mainly wrestled against Porky the Pig.
Yeah, Mike Lauren.
Yep, our good old buddy Mike Lauren, or somebody else who could basically lead him. Now save it. We've got Mike Lauren later in the show.
But he only lasted around here for maybe a month or so?
Well, yeah, that was in 1969, and in 1970 he died of advanced alcoholism. So that was that. And again, as I said, all the way coming in now to 1998 is when the DNA test showed that there was another male at the scene of the murder. So who knows?
Yeah, and I know he worked for Mike LaBelle in the L.A. territory, which would have been a prime spot to be,
Yeah.
with this, with Hollywood and all that other
Yeah.
kind of stuff there, but he didn't last long
Yeah.
there either. Now, you go back to the bushy-haired other guy.
Yeah.
Did they ever find, I shouldn't say Furpo, but, did they ever find that guy?
Oh, they found him on the TV show. They didn't find him in real life.
Oh, okay.
The one-armed man. Actually, the TV guy was a one-armed man with bushy hair too. So we covered both bases there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good story on
That was sort of
Shepard.
interesting. It's
Yeah.
like, Mom, my mother hated wrestling, so did my dad. Who are you going to see? Oh, Dr. Sam Shepard is wrestling. What?
Yeah.
You're going to see a murderer?
Yeah, but he was an actual doctor, though.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to,
a neurosurgeon. That's
yeah.
about as big as it gets.
Yeah, as opposed to like Dr. Beach
Yeah.
or Dr. Jerry Graham or Dr. Jerry Graham Jr.
Dr.
or
Jerry Graham was a tree surgeon. You want a limb removed?
Dr. Ken Ramey and all those other
Yeah,
fake doctors,
right.
the interns, the medics. But yeah, good story, Terry.
Yeah.